In January of 2020, Peg and I, along with our good friends John, Holly, and Aki, embarked on an Asmara cruise in the South Pacific, visiting French Polynesia and New Zealand. Our adventure began in Papeete, Tahiti. From there we cruised to Bora Bora and then on to New Zealand, where we visited Gisborne, Wellington, Picton and the Marlborough wine regions, and then on to Nelson, New Plymouth, and ending in Auckland. Approaching Tahiti from the air, we see a mountainous volcanic island that is covered in tropical foliage, with virtually all of its population and development along the coast. After collecting our bags, we checked into the Hotel Lycée Hotelier de Tahiti. This is a teaching facility for people wanting to enter the hospitality industry. The students and teachers were exceptionally friendly, and we were impressed by the flower petals on the bed and the display of traditional tribal outfits in the lobby. From the balcony we could see manicured grounds and ocean shore with small sailboats anchored in the bay. On the hillside is residential housing with flowering trees and a lush mountain forest beyond. That evening we were treated to a gorgeous sunset, just as you would expect in a tropical paradise. French Polynesia is a semi-autonomous collective overseen by France. It consists of 118 islands spread over 1,600 square miles. Only 67 of the islands are inhabited, and 69% of the population, or 189,000 people, live on the island of Tahiti. The word Papeete means water basket, and this spot was originally where locals came to collect water from the mountain stream. It is now a bustling tourist town with 139,000 people and appears to be doing fairly well. We took a walk through the city and learned that the French provide significant funding to the islands. This includes money to pay high salaries to doctors, teachers, and other professionals to attract them to live on the island. The city grew significantly in the 1960s as a result of a decision by the French government to move its nuclear weapon testing from Algeria to the Morola Atoll, 780 miles southeast of Tahiti. The resulting plutonium fallout resulted in riots in the city in 1974 and 1995. A few blocks from the bay, we passed the Notre Dame Catholic Cathedral. Built in 1875, it is the last remaining example of early colonial architecture. In the town center is a covered central market, which caters to tourists and locals. There is an abundance of tropical fruits and vegetables, all neatly displayed on rows of tables, along with a wide selection of locally made souvenirs. The vendors were relaxed and friendly. After a drink in the outdoor cafe, we returned to our hotel to prepare to board the ship. The Asmara journey is a 600-passenger ship, which is a comfortable size for ship activities and moving about. From our balcony, we have a panoramic view of the harbor, the city, and the mountains beyond. In addition to many small boats in the harbor, there are several luxury yachts, including one particularly impressive vessel. But our focus now is on departure and adventure. It's a one-day cruise to Bora Bora, and the skies are clear. In the distance we see land, but we're not sure if this is the islands of Taha and Raiatea or some other low-lying atoll. Shortly afterward, the island of Bora Bora comes into view. It is a volcanic island that has an area of only 12 square miles. Its classic beauty is due to the double volcanic peaks, Mount Pahia and Mount Otomanu, plus an abundance of white sand beaches that are protected by a coral reef that circles the island. As we were tendered to shore, we could see that this is a sparsely populated island. We learned that it has only 10,000 inhabitants, and there are some economic challenges with employment and services. We would see pockets of affluence, but the majority of locals appear to live a basic tropical lifestyle. As we disembarked at an open outdoor shelter, there was a band playing. We located our blue tour bus and met the young lady who will be our guide. As we departed, we learned that there is only one road around the island. It follows the shore and was built by the U.S. Army during the Second World War. Leaving town, we passed the local Protestant church, along with several shops selling pearls, which is an important industry here, plus a few fruit stands selling local produce and souvenirs. As we circled the island, we saw small homes on our right and views of the bay on our left. There was a small family cemetery in one yard with a roofed shelter constructed to protect the graves. We stopped briefly to view a bunker that had been constructed by the American Army while they maintained a supply depot on the island from 1942 to 46. 8 7-inch guns were installed on the top of the mountain to defend the island, and 2 of them remain to this day. Our first stop was at a tie-dye operation. In this process, a white piece of fabric is dyed to create a unique pattern. Cut-out shapes are placed on the fabric so that as it dries, it will create shadow pictures. Let's watch the demonstration.
Okay, 1. Voilà. Okay, 3 colors. Now, Adrien, 2 persons open the party, right? Okay, 1, 2, 3. That's it.
It was then demonstrated how the fabric could be used to create simple garments with a few surprises. Holly took her turn.
Second wave, honeymoon wave, Bora Bora. Okay? Even inside, 1, 2, and 3. And for me, my next suffer for husband for shopping. Shopping Bora Bora. Okay? Not finish. Put on. You make beautiful flower. Okay? Everybody, 1, 2, 3.
A short distance down the road, we pulled over to observe a colony of crabs. We fed them plant cuttings, which they eagerly dragged into their holes. A little further, we passed a bungalow that had belonged to Marlon Brando. He came here to escape the life of celebrity and married a local woman. One of his sons still lives on the island, and now the home and houses on the adjoining hill are available for rent. As we continued on admiring the scenery, our guide told us about the breadfruit tree and how when the first explorer, Captain Cook, discovered it, he wanted to take the plant back to England. He charged Lieutenant William Bligh to go to Bora Bora and collect some plants. When Bligh got there, he found out that it was the wrong season to transplant, and he would have to wait 6 months. While he was waiting, his crew discovered that Bora Bora had no metal, and local native women would gladly exchange sexual favors for a nail. After 3 months, Bligh gave up and left, fearing that so many nails had been taken out of the ship that it would come apart in heavy seas. We learned that other plants are important to local agriculture, including gardenias and hibiscus. Hibiscus is used in medicines and tea. The color of the blossom can be yellow in the morning, red at noon, and orange in the evening. We continued on around the island, marveling at the beauty and the colors. Occasionally we stopped to walk the beach and take photos. Across the water we could see the Four Seasons Bungalow Resort. Bungalows on the water have become increasingly popular around the world as the ultimate romantic getaway. They can cost from $400 to $2,000 per night. Looking inland, we see the twin volcanic peaks, Mount Pahia and Mount Otamanu. Between them is a large cave that is actually a lava tube entrance. Last stop was at the historic restaurant Bloody Mary's. I had to have one of their Bloody Marys, but it was nothing special. More interesting was a wall covered with money and a display board of famous people who had eaten there. Finishing the tour, we returned to the ship looking forward to the next destination, Rarotonga. Cruising to Rarotonga, the waves became higher and rougher, but not enough to be concerning. Arriving the next morning, the island was shrouded in fog, and the captain came on the intercom and announced that the seas were too rough and the tenders would not be taking passengers to shore. We, of course, were disappointed and were aware that one ill passenger had already been taken ashore, but when we looked out from our balcony at the tender station below, we understood the reasoning for the captain's decision. The tender had returned to the ship after dropping off the ill passenger, and we watched as the medical staff and crew re-embarked. As the craft bobbed and heaved in the waves, each person on the tender had to time the exact instant when the boat was close to the dock, and then leap onto the platform, grabbing the arms of the waiting crew. It was obvious that passengers would not be able to do this without endangering their lives, so we would not be stopping at Rarotonga and would continue on to New Zealand.